It's Britain's most famous naval base, known to generations of sailors simply as Pompey. More than 300 years before Nelson sailed from here to die in the moment of triumph at Trafalgar, Henry VII had built what was probably the first dry dock in the world. It was the start of an era of sea power. Today, Portsmouth, building on the traditions of the past, is adding new chapters to her long sea story. And to mark her long association with the Royal Navy, she confers her highest civic honor on Portsmouth Command, with the gift of a silver casket containing the scrolls of the freedom of the city. 1,000 sailors and wrens are on parade at Southsea. Past the Guildhall, rebuilt since the war, they march, headed by the Royal Marines. The Royal Navy acknowledges its debt to the city, which has built, sheltered and victualled its ships, which has supplied generations of sailors in peace and war, and provided their wives and sweethearts too. Pompey is still a naval base in this nuclear age, but no longer does it depend so much on the trades of the sea. Around its new shopping centres is growing up a flourishing industrial area. To the people in the streets, the great fleets with their battleships and cruisers, which symbolised Britain's might, are now history. Just as much part of history as the house in which Charles Dickens was born. Or HMS Victory herself. Nelson's Victory, preserved for posterity in the Royal Dockyard, has been celebrating the 200th anniversary of her launching. She was launched not here, but at Chatham. And when Nelson joined his first ship at the age of 12, she was already 6 years old. There were celebrations at Chatham too, and one of Victory's guns is still there. So if Chatham hasn't got the ship, she can always fire the cannon. At Portsmouth, the Commander-in-Chief and the Lord Mayor attended a religious service aboard Victory on her birthday. She's been in dry dock here since 1922, after more than 150 years afloat. But even now, she's no old age pensioner. She's still the flagship of Portsmouth's Commander-in-Chief. After the service, the Lord Mayor, at the Admiral's invitation, planted a symbolic oak tree alongside the wooden walls of Britain's most famous ship. All around Victory, some 20,000 men work on the more complex warships of today. The dockyard mateys are still a familiar sight, but the civilians are not the only men with homes to go to. Jack's got a home too when he's ashore. After a day in the dockyard, it's back to the wife and family, just like a civilian. Married quarters for naval ratings are replacing barrack life in the new Pompey. With the married quarters have come new street names. Streets named after battles which people can actually remember. Yet Salerno, Dieppe and Narvik already seem as much part of history as Jutland or Trafalgar to the young naval families who live here. Much of the heart of Portsmouth, which survived the wartime blitz, is going up in flames in the wake of the corporation bulldozers. Down come the houses in the little streets which bred the sea dogs who crewed the ships which protected an empire when Britain ruled the waves. With a population which has increased from 330,000 to 440,000 since the war, Pompey is building more and better homes. Tall blocks of corporation flats are going up in sight of the dockyard, though many of their families won't be flooding into the Navy. Pompey's diversifying so fast that a sailor's collar is as rare as a collector's piece in some parts of the city. The naval population has decreased by about 1/3 since before the war, and is still falling. But it's right in Pompey's old naval heart that the rubbing out of the past really strikes home. Here, linking the barracks with the dockyard, Queen Street, the sailors' landmark, lies under sentence. Already is half demolished. To the men who passed this way 20 to 25 years ago, Portsmouth without Queen Street, its naval tailors, its tiddly suits, will never be the same again. Some of the pubs they knew are going too. Before the war, there were more than 900. Today, 400 of them have disappeared or are waiting for the demolition men. While the old pubs are coming down, new factories are going up. There's a developing side of Pompey that no old sea daddy would recognize. More than 100 new factories have started up in the area since the end of the war. And if there's not quite the same demand for warships, there's a world market for model boats of all types. Whether they're the real thing or just toys, boats and cars make profitable exports for Britain. Portsmouth has a developing commercial port too. Long overshadowed by the naval dockyard, it's building up trade between the south of England and the Midlands and the great European market. Yes, the city of sailors is changing. But there's one time-honoured occasion which will stay much the same so long as there's a navy at all. It's the return of a warship from foreign service. The frigate Mohawk comes home after steaming more than 45,000 miles. The fleet, or at any rate one ship, is in port again, spilling the sailors into the arms of their wives, sweethearts and children. It's a moment that's hardly changed since Nelson's day. It's the link between Pompey's past and Portsmouth's future.